All right, the ERP show continues on this Tuesday. Oh, man, all kinds of things happening. But not as much as there was in Edmonton with the announcement of Mark Killam becoming the 25th head coach in Edmonton pro football history. And he joins us today to talk about it. Coach Killam, I appreciate the time. Thank you for this. And how does that sound, by the way? 25th coach in Edmonton pro football history. Congratulations, man. Has it truly sunk in yet?
No, not well. Yeah, with the workload over the past 24 hours, it has. But even to hear you say it, it still sounds pretty sweet. So,
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Well, again, I can. Yeah, we can hear you great. We can hear you great, Coach. And listen, I don't know how you're going to receive this, but they're going nuts in Edmonton. The U of A grad, the Lethbridge kid coming back to coach there. It's the perfect story. The reception, Mark, could not have been better. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. And I mean, Rod, that was a big part of the process, going through it. Obviously, I was drawn to this city, this job. I had interviewed for the job in Edmonton a couple years prior. Because of the connections that I have and my family has in this city and surrounding area, it was that much more appealing. When I going into the process with Ed and with Chris, and we started aligning on a lot of the critical pieces that you need in professional football. It was just really, really exciting to be a part of, and I was just all in at that moment.
Well, what I'm curious of is your connection to Ed, because it's pretty clear you guys never worked together before. But he said it became very clear very early on that you were the best guy. Did you know Ed before, or how did it go so well in the interview process?
No, I mean, just, in passing, hey, Ed at the combine, shake hands, pregame or postgame. We've never hung out before. I've never spent time away from, football per se with him. So it was, a new interaction for both of us. But like I said, when, he's so passionate about the Edmonton Elk organization and everything in this building. And then I have a natural passion for it as well. And then when we started talking about the components that go into it, it was just, it was an alignment. And that's why it was such a beautiful thing that it worked out.
Yeah, I like it. Well, it's so shared vision, obviously. And I mean, Ed's the guy that when he looks at you, he burns a hole in you, and you're not much different. What kind of things did you guys meet on without, asking or prying, but just the way the game's supposed to be played, roster makeup, culture, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of it. It always starts with, the process that when we went into it was, I presented my vision for the program, a long-term, a short-term vision. And then I talked about the pillars that I would want to build the program on and the things that I think are critical pieces to the foundation of any kind of winning organization. And then we talked about, how to implement those. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? What does that sound like? What are the interactions like? And it was really just, it took shape, and we really saw things a lot of the same. And, Chris was excited as well. And it just kind of escalated from there. It was a pretty amazing process going through it.
How does the roster look in your mind, and how much changes does it need, or do you plan to make?
Well, that was part of one of the most attractive things about this job. I mean, there's really good pieces in place here. I think anytime there's new management or new head coaches, there's going to be a little bit of change, and that's pretty normal in professional football. You want to have you're trying to bring in a fresh approach and all that. There's a lot of moving pieces that go into that. But, if you look at this roster, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Obviously they played really well on the back end of the stretch last year. And I think, with a few tweaks, we could really make some noise.
Well, yeah, maybe I don't know. You do. Maybe it's a culture thing or whatever they were missing. Everybody talked about they were missing something. And you played against them so much with Calgary the last few years. They weren't easy to beat. Am I right? They didn't quit, and there was talent.
Well, I mean, they beat Calgary every time. They swept us last year. So, I mean, they had dudes. I mean, they played tough. They were not an easy out. I mean, I remember early in the year they were losing games in weird ways. It wasn't like they were getting blown out of games, you know. It was certain things that were losing games, and hopefully those are things that we can address and move forward with.
How will things change for you professionally now, being the head coach? You're obviously ready for it, but you've thought about how it's going to change. This is a pretty big change for Mark Killam.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same organization for 20 years. So, I mean, I didn't even know where the bathroom was up here. You know what I mean? Like, if you take it on that level to obviously where, the macro side of it. But, I mean, Rod, I've had success by being who I am. I don't try to change. I've been authentic my entire life. I don't plan on changing. I mean, I feel like I've had success. I was already speaking to the entire team. I was speaking after the head coach. Now I'm just going to start that meeting. So I'm going to continue to do the things that I know I've been successful with it and just be me.
Well, I heard this hilarious story about Tony Dungy when he took over the Buccaneers. The team services people said, "Where do you want to stay in Minnesota in the hotel?" He goes, "I don't care. Why are you asking me? You're the head coach now. You need to make these decisions." Right? That's kind of what your life's going to be.
Totally. I mean, there's been so much media the last, couple days. And so every time I have a little bit of downtime, I go sit at my desk and I'm like, okay, what's this giant to-do list? Let's just start right at the top. You know what I mean? And just try to attack it one thing at a time. What's the most pressing issue? Okay, let's focus on that. Okay, move on to the next thing. And, I'm really just trying to be process oriented and, eat the elephant one bite at a time, as they say. But, it's work, but it's what I want to be doing. So it doesn't feel like that to me.
Good for you. Well, listen, I'll let you go here right away, but I know you're a big family guy, and I know you're a huge, Calgary area guy. So how's your family feel? Sounds like they're pretty excited, but how do they take this news?
Well, we tried to keep them involved in the process. So I have two teenage girls. That's the critical part of this. And, over the last 6 years when I've interviewed for head jobs, we've talked about it. We've talked about, I'm interviewing in Ottawa. This is what Ottawa looks like, all those things. And just to try to keep them involved in the process, I never wanted to throw anything on them. When the finality came of I was actually going to get this job, I thought it would be like we'd have a celebration, but, there was a lot of emotions in our house both ways. So, they were up here for the press conference. My daughters, they felt happy. It's going to be a process. We're going to finish the school year there before we move and do all those things. But I mean, who I am. Family's important. We're going to stick together. We got a strong family of four. We have each other's backs. But teenage girls, teenage anybody, it's a process, and we're just trying to take it day by day.
They are a unique being. Teenage girls, there's no doubt about that. Yeah. And the last thing I'll ask you is the pressure. I mean, it's Edmonton, man. But I also feel if you're doing what you're meant to do, you don't really feel pressure. So I wonder how you feel about taking over Edmonton and the expectations, because that is a proud town of their team.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think expectations are a bad thing. I want the community to have expectations. If they didn't care, that would be more of a problem. So it's our job to earn it. And I said in my initial remarks that I give us a chance to prove it to you, because that's what type of football team we're going to be. Every time we step on the field, we're going to play with that type of mindset, and we're going to earn the respect back, and we're going to earn the fans back.
I don't doubt that for a second. And I love how this feels so right. I'm not even part of it, and I can see how it feels so right for everybody. So, Mark, congratulations again. Good luck. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you, Rod. Nice seeing you.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for the time. Yeah, nice seeing you too. The 25th head coach of the Edmonton football team, Mark Killam. Look out, Calgary. They're coming for you. feel like I'm going to extend my summer a couple extra days next year because I want to be in McMahon Stadium Labor Day Monday when the Edmonton Elks come to town. And hey, how many of you were like me when this happened yesterday and the announcement was made, wanted to look where the CFL schedule was to find out when Edmonton was at Calgary? I did. And I'm like, oh, it's not out yet. And that's not the CFL's fault. They've been doing pretty good the last few years of having it out before Christmas. So it should be coming out soon, but we don't have a date yet for that happening. Moose is gone for the day. We gave him the rest of the day off. So for the next 30 minutes, it's you and me if you're down, 902-518-3033, whatever you would like to talk about. Just so you know, our topics today have been NHL leftovers, Monday Night Football last night, a doozy. Where does this leave the Denver Broncos? Where does it put them? They are the 7th seed in the playoffs, by the way. Four Nations face-off roster is going to be announced tomorrow. Will Connor Bedard, or should he be on the roster? It's like 60-40 either way, depending on where you're voting. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's not unanimous either way, that's for sure. Should Connor Bedard be on Team Canada? WHL trades. Listen, if you want, we can get into that because I'm going to turn it over to you the rest of the way. We were talking about Mark Killam being hired by the Edmonton Elks, and we just had him. Boy, we're having a great week for guests. I'll tell you that for free. So we'll pause and be back. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can get it going in the chat as well. Just me and you the rest of the way. And there's enough going on in sports. Trust me, I can read those scripts the rest of the way, too. If you'd like, we'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, and, of course, podcasting wherever the best podcasts are.